I want to invite you to be seated at this time. And I want to invite Matt Collins to come forward. He's going to speak to us today. He's the chairman of the parish council. I want to invite you to be seated at this time. And I want to invite Matt Collins to come forward. He's going to speak to us today. He's the chairman of the parish council.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Matt Collins, and I'm a member of the parish council. I'm a little nervous about talking with you this morning, not because of public speaking, but because what I'm about to say has become so important to myself and my fellow parish council members that I don't want to mess it up. And so Deacon Paul taught me a little prayer a couple weeks ago, and it goes, "Dear Lord, I'm about to speak. You're on." So here we go. Over the last several months, the parish council's been meeting, and we've been reading, discussing, and praying about revitalizing a commission here at Good Shepherd, a commission that's been missing for 2 years. We are now ready to help Father Chris form that commission and to fill the roles with people. But the name of this commission can have such a stereotype that once people hear the word, they get turned off. So I ask you to keep an open mind and an open heart to what I'm about to say, and ignore the stereotype that you might have about stewardship. That's what we've been working on, creating a stewardship commission. So what does stewardship look like? I'd like to share a little bit of my journey. I grew up Catholic, went to a Catholic school, went to Mass every Sunday. And I've seen that one word, stewardship, cause wallets to snap shut. People's schedules seem to fill up. No one is available anymore. And some just simply walk away from the church. In fact, in my grade school years, going to St. Anthony's in High Ridge, my family's version of stewardship sometimes was more like a prison sentence. Do your time, go to church, work at the fish fry, give some food to the peace pantry, and go home. We could have hired someone, paid them minimum wage, and accomplished the same thing. So when Father Chris and Brenda came to me last fall and said it would be great if parish council could help revitalize stewardship at Good Shepherd, I said, we'll do it, but I was a little hesitant. I asked them what information they had so we could get started, and they provided me with a bunch of information to read. I started relearning about stewardship, looking to find something that was missing from what I was taught when I was growing up. I hit a roadblock right off the bat. As I did more research and read about what other churches were doing, stewardship is defined 95% of the time as using one's time, talent, and treasure to serve God. In fact, I can clearly visualize right now a church out on the East Coast and their website. And right there on the front page was a picture of a clock with the words 1 hour next to it. And it said everyone needs to give 1 hour in order to fulfill their stewardship requirement. I had an argument with my computer screen at that point, wanting to tell that church that 1980 called, wanting their definition of stewardship back. Concerned at this point that I might fall back into the trap of what stewardship used to be like, I prayed and I asked God to show me stewardship, to send the Holy Spirit to teach me what stewardship looks like. And he answered me, and he said, "Are you sure? Do you really want to know what stewardship looks like?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." So I continued reading about stewardship, and again ran across that definition of time, talent, and treasure. The treasure was a showstopper for me. I didn't get it. I didn't understand. What is this treasure? I knew what the old definition was, but what were the treasures in my life? Does God want my house, my car, more of my money? But I learned that that treasure is not the materialistic world. It is not our possessions. God does not need that. And if you don't believe me, go to any state or national park. Go to the ocean and watch a sunset. Smell a bouquet of flowers, or watch a mother deer and its fawn graze in the pasture. What he creates is so much more than what we can give him. He doesn't need the stuff that we have. So what is our treasures? If you melt away all the possessions, the money, the materialistic world, what is left? It's the people. It's the people that God puts in our lives. Our spouse, our children, parents, family and friends, and our fellow parishioners. That is the gifts that God has given us. That is what he intended for our treasure to be. And then I hit a game changer. I read that if you can visualize in your head a Christmas tree, and under it you put all the names of the ones that you love and cherish, but the only thing you're allowed to put on those names as gifts is your time and talent. What would those piles look like of gifts? Wow, I thought. In a world where Christmas has become so commercialized, the giving of a material gift that is supposed to show how much we care, this new perspective of a Christmas tree was good stuff. To have the HDRs, the heavy, deep, and real relationships with the ones that you love. I was kind of flying high. I was beginning to think I was figuring this stuff out. It wasn't but 2 weeks later that I get a call that my 24-year-old nephew had been taken to the hospital for kidney failure. I hadn't seen much of my nephew for almost 2 years. Not because we didn't get along, but because I allowed too many other things in my life to get in the way. You know, I didn't have the time. I thought back to that Christmas tree. Nick's name was underneath my Christmas tree. But when I looked at it in this new perspective, Nick's pile was empty. I had given him nothing of my time and talent. 3 weeks later, I found out that his younger brother had been diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer. Again, another empty pile under my Christmas tree. I didn't realize that when I asked God to show me what stewardship looks like, he was going to show me how bad I was at it. I began to reflect on the other names under the Christmas tree. What did my wife's pile look like? My children, and the others that I love. Were their piles overflowing, or did they just have a little bit of my time and talent? It didn't turn out to be as beautiful of a Christmas tree as I hoped for. There were no overflowing abundance of gifts. I apologized to God, and I asked for his forgiveness and mercy. And in the next several weeks, I talked with my nephews. I went to the hospital. I stayed with them during their surgery and their treatments. I loved my wife more, spent more time with my kids, and began focusing on the ones that I love. And God, being the good father that he is, said to me, "Wonderful. Now I'm going to show you what great stewardship looks like." And I attended the church men retreat 2 weeks ago, and he blew the doors open. I saw firsthand a group of people who gave themselves to God unconditionally. They gave all of their time and talent to me and the other men on that weekend because we were their treasures. You know, when someone outside your inner circle of loved ones looks at you and sees you as a gift from God, and they freely give themselves to you, it's a humbling experience. I learned so much that weekend. I learned that others were much better at it than I was. But even to them, it didn't matter. What matters was that we were walking together in Jesus' footsteps. So stewardship isn't something that you just do at church. It's not about giving more money. It's not about giving one more hour. It's about taking care of the treasures that God put in your life. You might be living stewardship right now. And this stewardship commission would be a great opportunity to further and deepen stewardship in your life. And we would love to have your help on it. And you might be sitting there thinking, I'm horrible at stewardship. I don't get it. There's no way I could be any use to the Stewardship Commission. But I say this to you. God is not concerned about where you're coming from, only where you're going. I've prayed this whole Mass that God send the Holy Spirit to everyone here. And if you have that little uneasy feeling or the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, I ask you not to resist. We were all given a book at the beginning of Lent on resisting happiness and resisting God. And if you haven't cracked that book open, I urge you to do so. Because on the back of that book, it sums it up. It says every single moment is a chance to turn it all around. We're going to be having a stewardship open house on Tuesday the 18th at 7 p.m. in the St. Joseph House. It's a time to learn more about what the Stewardship Commission will be doing.